We have recently read on the newspapers that when the Council of Ministers was discussing the GST proposal, when it came to GST on casinos, it is said that at the request of Government of Goa, I'm quoting what I've read in the newspaper, that at the request of Government of Goa, the Council of Ministers has decided to keep the GST to be levied on casinos in abeyance. What does it tell us, Speaker Sir? That this government is flushed with funds. The government should not use the budget to ask for extra money by way of taxes, by way of cutting expenditure in certain departments. However, as it is a custom, I will raise a few points. Speaker Sir, GST on casinos is held in abeyance. However, go to any constituency, across party lines, you will find hundreds and thousands of people who are complaining that they are not receiving the monthly amounts that were being given under the Directorate of Social Welfare, under the various government schemes that have been announced, under various government schemes that they are registered. They are not receiving that monthly amount. I'm sure even in your constituency, Speaker Sir, there will be people who are complaining. I'm happy to have just noted the Minister of Social Welfare having given an assurance to my colleague that within 1 month he will clear whatever is pending. I believe that that statement was meant for the House and not only for Kunkoli constituency. And therefore, you will cover all the 40 constituencies in Goa. I hope that was the spirit in your statement. And if that be so, a big thank you to you. Speaker Sir, there was a lot of noise. People were agitated. Somehow, the noise has subsided regarding the CZMP plans. Speaker Sir, the government announced that ports would not be shown in the CZMP maps. I agree. They have not. They proposed not to show it, and I believe they are genuine in that. But Speaker Sir, can this government assure us that whilst not showing the ports and other things proposed under the Sagar Mela scheme of the central government, all these other activities like ports, this, that will be scrapped? Or is it only that they will continue as a law, as a rule, but to bluff us Goans, not show it on the plan? I would appreciate if the government comes out with an honest stand on that. Speaker Sir, the common man builds a house and he cannot enter that house until and unless he gets an occupancy certificate. I'm sure this House will be surprised to know that during my tenure as a Power Minister, it was proposed that a building for the electricity department in Margaon be built. The building was tendered. The work was undertaken by the PWD department, if I remember correctly. But it's a shame to say that the electricity department has occupied this building without an occupancy certificate till date. Speaker Sir, if a common man builds a house and he tries to enter that small little dwelling of his, he is not allowed, Speaker Sir, by any of the government departments concerned until and unless he gets an occupancy certificate. I don't think this is right, Speaker Sir, and therefore I request our Power Minister, the present Power Minister, Shri Sudhin Dhawalikar, to look into this matter and ensure that that building is completed in all respects and ensure that that building just as the government expects the common man to have an occupancy, that building gets a common occupancy certificate immediately. Speaker, sir, the government has announced various schemes for the benefits of people. Many of the schemes are to be appreciated. But I don't know what this government and earlier governments too have against the staff of the primary staff of government-aided primary schools. Speaker, sir, way back in 2009, when there was a Congress government in the state, it was decided that in primary schools, understand when the government is employing so many people, why they do not employ these, give these schools just one LDC, just one peon, Speaker, sir. I don't think it should be based on student population, but I believe if the government has approved starting classes from 1 to 4, then I think the government should be magnanimous and grant permission to these schools to employ an LDC clerk and a peon. Speaker, sir, coming to be magnanimous and grant permission to these schools to employ an LDC clerk and a peon. Speaker, sir, coming to PWD. Between Agnel Ashram and Nuvem Church existed the old highway. The government of India has now shifted this national highway to a new route which extends again from Agnel Ashram beyond Nuvem village and thereafter towards Fatorda and onwards. I appeal to this government to denotify this stretch because this government claims that they are sensitive to the needs of the people, to the wants of the people. The people living along this existing stretch, existing old highway, are not permitted to build anything within 80 meters from the center of the highway, both ways. Now, if the highway has been diverted, if a new highway has been constructed, I think it is the moral duty of this government to denotify these particular stretches. I would therefore appreciate if some action is taken on those lines. And last, Speaker, sir, coming to a problem which I think most of Goa is sensitive to, the 3 linear projects. Speaker, sir, you represent the Savarde constituency, and I'm sure to some extent it may even affect you. We have to be sensitive to the sentiments of the people. Speaker, sir, people are desperate. They have tried all means, and people have even succeeded by going to the Supreme Court. The Central Empowered Committee, appointed by the Supreme Court, has held that double tracking is not essential, that coal can be transported through the existing facilities. The committee has also held that when it came to the Tamnar power project, that the government has an existing line which is not in use. between Hubli to Kurti Ponda, besides the 220 lines that exist up to Shelne, these lines could be upgraded. As I said, the Hubli-Kurti line is abandoned. These lines could be upgraded, and instead of cutting precious trees which have grown over the centuries, these lines could be upgraded and used to string the necessary transmission cables or conductors that are needed to bring this Tamana power project into Goa. I therefore appeal to the minister, be human. The present power minister also represents a constituency where there is a lot of vegetation. Yes, he may not have the wild animals that pass through the areas around Mole, but he does have a lot of vegetation in his areas, and therefore it is his moral duty to ensure that there is no unnecessary cutting of vegetation. The best decision would be cancel these 3 projects, let the people live in peace. I don't want to repeat what I said on the 3 projects yesterday, but be sensitive to the demands of the people. Think of them, walk the extra mile and help them. Thank you, Speaker, sir.